Hey there, Wonder Woman. I'm calling you that because you are carrying life in you, and I think that is amazing. So kudos and congratulations. And so here is your past life spread, and it's interesting because what's coming through already, I do want to mention it feels like there are certain themes that may be similar to the reading I gave for Joanna, but totally different, but certain themes. So keep that in mind. I find that interesting. What else? There was something else that came through. It'll probably come up in here. But anyway, so remember, this is what we're doing. We're going to where you were, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with the relationships and feelings involved, another important day, the death and lesson learned. And we'll get hints of time throughout, but already I can tell you this feels like we're going very far back. It feels it could be what we would consider ancient, and if not, if the surrounding society, like if the society, like the Western culture, the Western world, if that's like up and coming, it doesn't matter, because it feels like where we're going, it doesn't even touch it. So that's why it feels like we're going very far back, because there is no modernization here at all. It feels Native American. Or I should say, let's scratch that, it feels indigenous or native. Take away the American, because I'm not sure about that, because we say Native American, it could be, this could be Siberia, quite frankly. Like it feels like we're looking at just nature. Which in itself, I feel like is a message coming through even before we begin. I feel like it's almost like a message urging you to make sure that you are getting almost like wanting me to tell you to get all of the elements, okay? And what I mean by that is I feel like you need to be by water, you need to have your feet in the dirt, you need to get fresh air, you need to honor fire. It just feels like spend time with elements, play with elements, and I feel like this is going to bring to you either something that you feel like you've been needing or something that you're not even aware that you need until you're going to get it, okay? So I just feel like this is really important. There's something about you needing to reconnect with the earth, because that's going to reconnect you with yourself and with the state that you're in right now, your body. This is going to help in some way. So I even want to say that if you are having any kind of not issues but discomforts that you're noticing throughout the pregnancy, if you've noticed certain what do they call it when it's consistent? Chronic? No, we'll just say consistent things, like maybe you feel like, oh, I'm always dehydrated, I'm always short of breath, I'm always dizzy, I always feel like my equilibrium's off, I always feel this, that, I don't know what it is, but if you're feeling like there's something you need, just get to the earth. That's what I feel like. And it's actually giving me a visual of like you barefoot, like letting your toes play in the sand or the dirt. Something about dirt overlooking a beach. So I don't even know, like I'm just telling you everything coming through. It's showing me you standing with your feet in the dirt where there's still trees, and beyond in the break of the trees right there is a beach where you can see the beach and the water, but you're in like a forest in the dirt before the beach. I don't know if you connect with that in any way, but I feel like they're showing me that possibly because it's utilizing almost all the elements we talked about, from the dirt to the water, even the trees, bringing the oxygen, something about bringing the oxygen. Anyway, keep that in mind. I also feel like that's coming through as far as once the child is here, to bring the child to do those things and to continue to do those things as long as the child is, let's say if you want to breastfeed the child, as long as they're breastfeeding, even if you don't breastfeed, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So that's interesting, because I'm just with these readings lately, there seems to be some information coming through that may not be about the past life, but it's more like a psychic connection in that way. So just keep that in mind, something to consider. It's not like, it is what it is. All right, so let's start this. So again, so here we have the Nomad card. It's the card that usually indicates when we're looking at someone who doesn't have a home base or moves around a lot. And I feel, again, like we're going tribal. I feel like you're part of a tribe, a community, and it feels like they do pick up and go around and set up camp and move around, and it feels like they're following something, like either following the weather or following the food. So it's something that isn't always permanent, it's always moving around. So this can connect with you in ways where if you feel like you need to keep moving around in your life, if you get like an itch to change scenery or change environment or jet away for the week and get out of here, that kind of thing, that would be a connection here. At the same time, the opposite connection would be your desire and yearning to have a one rooted down kind of home base, okay? So either way would be a connection. There's also something about if you have any fear of resources running out. Let's say you're someone that might feel like, okay, let's load up on water, let's load up on toilet paper, let's load up on the necessities, even though you might not need it, even if it's not like a bad storm coming, just a regular day, and you make it these little like hits of, oh, I should have that stocked, I should stock that. That would be a kind of connection here where they're always it's not that they're lacking, it's just that their necessities and resources, it's a daily task for the whole community to work together in order to provide for everybody. So that can come back in your life again as someone who might feel like they need to stock up because they may run out. On the other hand, you may also be someone where it's like this, where it's a direct connection, where you might enjoy the idea of going to the market to bring home fresh produce every couple of days or every few days, so that everything is fresh. So if you're someone that needs everything to be fresh, if you don't like things to get close to that expiration date or whatever it is, that could be a connection as well. Also, the idea of being part of a community or doing your part, you may find that you are someone that feels very content when you feel needed or useful. In fact, your pregnancy, you may feel lovely, very high sometimes or all the time, because it's like a primitive thing, knowing that your body and everything you're doing is needed and you're very useful at this time growing life, you see. So if you find that you've had certain moments in your pregnancy, or your pregnancy in general has been has made you feel full, no pun intended, but like a feeling of like fullness or fulfillment or completion, something like that, that would make sense as well, because there's something about wanting to feel useful and wanting to be needed, also in the community as well. So if you find that you enjoy being part of the community in that way, that would be a connection, also a message coming through that if you are ever feeling lonely or you're feeling down, it's a message for you to get out of the house and go talk to friends and go do something that you enjoy, even if it's like take a painting class or go take a friend to the beach or the river, whatever, somewhere nearby. Again, being outdoors I feel like is so beneficial, again, not just now, but even after the birth. So please pay attention to that. If anything, I feel like that's going to be like the overall thing, is make sure you are really connecting to the natural elements of being alive. So what you did with the majority of your time, this is the hunting and providing card, and I feel like we took care of that. But I'm just seeing if anything else comes through, because I'm trying to see what we're looking at here. Okay, so this feels like a female life, and it feels like this female we're looking at is stoic and masculine in the way there's very toned muscles, toned arms. There's height to this person. I'm just trying to let things come through. So we're looking at tone, height. Okay. So, all right, so any connection with those things, it may be the kind of thing where it could be something simple like you've always envied women who were tall, or envied women who had muscle tone, or maybe you yourself want to get it or have it or have worked for it, or you like working out if you work out and you enjoy focusing on your arms, that might be a connection. As weird as that sounds, it feels like we're looking at someone who utilized the bow and arrow. We're looking at someone who has a lot of upper body strength. Overall, a lot of physical strength and stamina. So in this current life, you know, there's that direct opposite connection. You could have come back as a more willowy kind of like, I don't want to go run kind of thing. Or you could have come back as someone who enjoys the movement and the pushing your muscles and the sweat and the moving, you know, that kind of thing, the physicality of life. So that would be something to connect with, either enjoying immersing yourself in it or taking a step back from it because this person had to just simply live that way. It wasn't a choice. The idea of providing. The idea of providing and nurturing. So the provisions here feel, so it's a necessity, but it's different than, for example, if you saw your wife's reading where it was about being a provider for like in a job capacity, like an office. This one feels like it's a provider in a nurturing way. And I usually do not bring in other readings even when people are related. But in this case, I feel like it's meant to be brought in because I feel like that should be your focus with each other, on how you both bring so much to the table in different ways. And that should be a point of reference for both of you should you ever feel like if there's any like disagreement or a little rift or whatever going on. You know, relationships are relationships, but if there's anything like that ever, which, you know, raising a kid, it's gonna happen. Remember that each of you have these strengths to bring to the table. And there's something so lovely about this. It's like a yin and yang. That's what it feels like. It feels like I feel like that's why they're having me bring in her part of the reading with this part, is that you guys are a perfect match to provide all of these perfect elements to make up the entire family unit. It feels so good, but it's also a message to remember that. And to respect each other's gifts that you bring to the table, respect each other's qualities, strengths, also respecting, what's it called? So if you're both bringing these things to the table, that also means that the other person may be a little bit, you know, better at something, whereas the other person may be a little better at something else, right? So it's not just respecting each other's qualities, but also seeing how, how it puts the puzzle together. And when you're able to see how each of you put that puzzle together, the big picture of it, that can help with any kind of disagreements or rifts or anything that may happen. It's almost like I want to say the messages in those cases, if there's a case like that, you know, where there's a disagreement, whatever it is, there should be a mantra or a word that both of you say, or like a phrase, almost like puzzle piece or big picture, or, you know what I mean? Like almost like a little message. Come up with a phrase or a word that's like a key phrase, just to ground yourself back to what's really important. Like to get back to what's really important. And what's really important is going to be that foundation of love, understanding, peace kind of thing, especially for raising kids. So, okay. So keep making connections where you can. It's an interesting thing, because there's some new stuff coming through with these readings for me. So that's kind of fun and interesting. So we're going to go to the first important day. Here is the graduation card. And, you know, not talking about school here. As these people traverse the land, there's no school. It feels like a graduation into the next phase of life, but also the next phase of the next step up in the community. So I feel like we're looking at someone that goes from youth to young adulthood, and as far as what they consider young adulthood, it feels like what we would consider like a teenager, kind of like almost like 13 or 12, whatever, to them is young adult. And it feels like this is a very proper time. Okay, well, let me keep going, because what's happening is the card is the relationship is child, and the feeling is torn. Okay, so this is interesting because they're wrapping up a few things in one, is what it feels like. It feels like we're looking at the transition of you out of childhood, and the feelings are You feel, there's something about it that you have to put something away that you really enjoy and take up the mantle of this young adult chapter. And putting that thing away is where the torn feeling comes in. And I want to say it's something like what we would consider our favorite toy, or like a doll we've always carried around, or a blanket we've always, that kind of thing, a security blanket, so to speak. It feels like you're putting it away. So in your current life, it may feel like you're in a place where you have to tuck away your security blankets and embrace things that you may feel you're ready for, because of course, I'm this age and I am this, situated in society, like I'm a grown woman and this kind of thing, but there may be little bouts of doubt and uncertainty and fear, especially with what you're going through now, perhaps. And if you do get those little dips and bouts of doubt and fear, and the best thing you can do is not worry about it, honestly. Almost like, I want to say, embrace the doubt and fear as part of the journey, part of being human. And in a way, it's connecting you with your ancestors, and it's connecting you with all the aspects of yourself as a human being at a very deep, primitive level. Because it's almost like a reminder to you that everyone has gone through those doubts and fears before, and for you to connect with that in a way that it feels beautiful. Like, usually I'm like, oh, doubts and fears are obstacles, but these doubts and fears, I'm not saying to harp on them, I'm not saying to keep them around if they don't serve you, but what I am saying is to recognize that you are part of a timeless tradition now. You growing a life, becoming a mother, you are being initiated into an energetic community of countless souls that have come before you, and also other aspects of your being in other times and places that have gone through this. So there's something very beautiful about that, even if it's scary. So the feeling of this is remember that, seek the silver lining of the doubts and fears you may feel, and also know that you're so capable of this. You can handle it. No problem. You'll see. But just remember, the doubts and fears, if you can see them as those primitive, beautiful things that's part of life, part of being a woman, part of being a human being, and remembering that you chose this path, you chose it all. So this is all your decision, and that may help ease any doubts you may have. But also just don't be afraid of it. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself for feeling any doubts or fears. Everything's going to be just fine. I also feel like what they do is, I feel like they also put this here because it also relates to another, we go forward, I feel like, a couple of years in time when you're also initiated into a new chapter, and I feel like here we see you having a child here as well, okay? So it's almost like they're showing me a parallel to what you may be going through today in your current life, the feelings of doubts and fears. It's the same thing as the child putting away the toy and embracing the next chapter. It's the same with the doubts and fear. It's the same thing. It's this child now, this young adult, embracing motherhood, going into this new chapter with this torn feeling, because it's also this whole thing about her, running around the woods and hunting and providing. And I feel like there's a short time period here when she doesn't do what she's used to doing, and so there's this where there's a routine and then she's taken off the routine. That, I feel like that really jars her, is when the routine is messed with. So if you keep, make connections where you can, but if it connects in a way where you feel like your routine, like you're someone that enjoys routine, and this time in your life you feel like you've either had to establish a new routine, or you feel like you're off your old routine, or you feel, I guess it's not just routine, it's like off balance. There you go. Sorry, not off foot, off balance. They're showing me someone just standing on one foot and wobbling. So if you're feeling off balance as well, that would be a connection that's going on as far as what's going on with you right now. If not, that's okay, and that's actually really good. There would be an opposite connection in that. What is it? So there's the off balance one, and then okay, and then okay. So having experienced this here, feeling off balance and unsure, it could be that you can make a opposite connection where right now you actually may feel very sure-footed and feel more confident than you ever have before, in order to but experience a different structure to this same scenario, if that makes sense. So keep making connections where you can, okay? All right, so let's go to the next important day. So here we have the Mother Nature card. Excuse me. Mother Nature card, usually it's like a natural disaster or something, and this is the Soul Group card. And this is the Horror card. What this feels like is we are looking at a season in years later. There's a season, and it feels like there is a lack of food because of something like a very cold, it's like wretched winter. There's something about a wretched winter, and there's something about killing off a lot of food in the sense of plants. I feel like, yeah, you hunt food, but I feel like there's also a gathering aspect to it as well, as far as, it's not like eating plants, it's like utilizing the plants for medicinal purposes. And it feels like because of like a very harsh winter, something happened with the plants where when you usually go around during that season, there's so much of it that when you gather it, it lasts the rest of the year. And in this case, your community, your tribe, they go to, they're in that area at that time of year, and it's like there's hardly any of it. And there's something very medicinal about this and the lack of medicine. So basically, it's like there's a shortage of medicine is what it feels like. So the shortage, because of that, it feels like there's like a percentage of the tribe gets wiped out by some kind of sickness or some kind of bacteria or something seasonal where, again, you would use the medicine. I can't explain it. It's almost like antibiotics kind of thing, and then you don't have enough this time around. So it feels like a lot of the young ones and the very old ones. The very young and the very old are the first, or maybe even the only, but definitely are the first to pass, to not make it. The old being frail, the young just not having the immune system yet. And it feels like somewhere in here, it's not definite, but it feels like it could be this child doesn't make it as well. So there's something about very, very young passing, and it could be this child as well. So I'm trying to see if it's connected. Because here's the thing, I know, like, so the intention we set, or the intention, we were hoping to set, that we want to get with this reading is, it was for you and the baby. So what I think is actually coming through in this reading is for you, and it's for you growing the baby, though I don't feel like this child passing or anything like that is necessarily the same soul as your current baby, okay? So, and what's interesting, in the other reading, we're going to bring it in Joanna's reading, there was a karmic connection with the soul you're carrying right now. So, at least there, you do see a karmic link here. I'm not quite sure that if this child did pass, or the child you have here, I'm not really feeling that this is the same soul as that, but this would explain other things as well. So one, are you someone who likes to stock up on medicine? Two, are you someone that likes to stock up on alternative medicine? Do you like to make your own medicine? Are you fascinated with herbs, herbology, creating your own alchemy? Are you interested in alchemy is what I'd be curious about. If you haven't even played with it yet, I would actually say go ahead and try it. Like, look into it, Google it, you know, like feel it out. See if that's something like a hobby you may be interested in. Also, you know, this whole shortage, you may be very drawn to feeling protective of elderly people and very, very, very young people. Protective in a way where you just want to make sure they're okay. It might be as small as when you're driving down the road and you see a young kid, maybe by themselves or something, you're like, okay, where's their parent? Are they going to be okay? Like, you may automatically go into mama bear mode, or you may automatically go into like protective mode. So that would be a connection if you do, and if not, that's fine. You may not enjoy winter, like the idea of, I mean, I don't know if you've ever like lived through a winter where it snows all winter, but that just might not be appealing to you, which would make sense here because it did a lot of damage. Let's see what else. There's something about so protective of your loved ones. Here we go. Okay, so once you have the child, there's going to be something where you might find that you do get into mama bear mode, and you may be very protective, overprotective. And right now you might be like, that's not me, I'm not going to be like that. But if you do find in time to come that you show tendencies of being overprotective, or tendencies of wanting to be the one to soothe the child, wanting to be the one to nurture, hold, make sure it's, you know, overprotectiveness basically. So if you find that you feel that way in time to, you know, as you know, when the child comes, you know, infant, toddler years kind of thing, that would be very normal. That'd make a lot of sense if you find that you are overprotective, and it's okay. And if you're not, that's fine too, but that's what it feel like here because you couldn't do anything here. Whereas currently in your current, you know, this time and period we're in, you can take your kid to the doctor, you can load that kid up with medicine, you can, you know, tuck him in. Like, there's so many options to get kids through what this would be like a common cold or bronchitis or something. Today we have everything we need for it. So again, don't be hard on yourself if you find that you do end up being an overprotective parent. The feelings, I don't know if I showed it to you or not, but it was the horror feelings. I forget what I hold up sometimes, but this horror card is because of all of the deaths. Keep making connections here where you can. I feel like there are more to be made. Yeah, this also is if you find in your current life, if you're a temperature taker, like if you're the one with your friends or family, excuse me, that's like, are you okay? Do you feel okay? Are you tired? You know, I mean, that kind of thing. If you're the one that's like basically like, I guess, empathic, or if you're just constantly aware or feeling out the room and making sure everyone is comfortable and feeling okay, that kind of thing. If that's you, that would be a connection here. And I feel like, you know, there would be an opposite connection as well, where I would say, oh, you'd be completely hands off and you let nature take its course and, you know, that go with the flow kind of thing. I would say that, but I don't feel like that would be the case. Even if you are a go with the flow person, in this case, I don't know if that would be the connection when it comes to your soul group, as far as when you have the child and become, you know, the caregiver of that child, that parent. Like, I just feel like, don't be surprised if you find that your personality or expectations are a little different afterwards as the child grows. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, it might change in ways that you didn't expect. So just be open to that. And let's see. I feel like that's pretty good. There's something else about this card with the C's and the. You may be triggered when you hear about the environment. So if this global warming thing, or you hear about the reservation lands, like the native lands being basically raped for oil, so to speak, if that is triggering to you, then that would be a connection as well. So keep that in mind. Now the death card. All right. So here we have the death card, and this is the accident card. Whoopsie daisy. Accident card. There we go. Okay, the accident card, I'm trying to see what's coming through here, because it's taking place, yep, okay, yes, okay. It puts me out in a open, like a meadow of some sort, surrounded by the woods. It's something about, it feels like it's a very warm season. There's something about you being off of your equilibrium, something about dizzy or hot or heat in the head that slows your reflexes, and it feels like you are taken down by your prey, which is a predator. So it feels like you are killed by an animal when usually you would not have been killed by an animal. It feels like you're also, I want to say maybe like what we would consider 40, so it feels like your prime kind of thing. But at the time, it's also, there's something about a change in your body. So, oh, interesting. Okay, so, well, yeah, so it feels like your body is changing because of the age, and I feel like at this time, we're looking at where people did, it was so long ago, it feels like the lifespan wasn't that long, so it's almost like what we would consider to be like the peak of our time here would be like older. And there's something in the body going through changes, maybe almost menopausal possibly, and it's almost like the heat is so much that what I might have thought as a very hot day could have been a heat, like a hot flash, which is interesting. I've never had that come up, and that's kind of, now that I say it, it's what it feels like. I feel like it's almost like you're going through a hot flash and it catches you off guard, so you're off your game, and it makes, there's something about dizziness, lack of clarity in sight, and the animal being able to get the blow in, and that takes care of you. So this might sound interesting. So any connections you can make here, but there might be, like, this is random, but if you have any inkling of any kind of disdain or dislike or fear of big cats, that might be a connection. I know it sounds weird, and if not, that's fine, but I feel like we're looking at something that would be like either, it feels like it's a panther-ish kind of thing, though obviously I don't know exactly what animal, but it feels like a big cat-ish animal. So if the idea of like going out into the woods or whatever and getting, you know, meeting up with like a predator kind of animal, if that's ever bothered you, that could be a connection here. Or again, if you've ever just like, that's okay, I don't need to go pet the tiger, like I don't need to go see that, like at the zoo or whatever, you're like, I'll go see the penguins, or, you know, like I'll go look at the giraffes, you go to the lion den, you know, that kind of thing. I know that's kind of random and weird, but it does feel like that. On the other hand, it might just not even matter, because there was something so like, again, grounded, down to earth, understanding and respecting the circles of life and how it all works, that I don't feel like there's any kind of like, oh, like, shit, I hate that this happened, you know, like that kind of thing. It was more like, there, if anything, you died respecting the animal. There is a respect for it. So that too could be a connection where you feel very respectful for animals. If you've ever felt a kinship with animals in that way, like, they have souls, they're to be respected, they're of Mama Earth, and I get it and I appreciate it. That could be a connection as well. Hot flashes, heat. If you don't like heat, if you're not into that kind of thing, like being out, laying out in the sun, if you don't like that, that would be a connection. On the other hand, if you do, it would be the opposite connection, in that you're embracing the thing, the heat, the thing that was your demise here. So it'd be like kind of a coming back to embrace it and forgive it. If you like sunning, or if you like being out in the warm sun, that kind of thing. What other thing? The respect for nature. I feel like there's something else here. Oh, wait, let's see. Okay. What you might want to see is, you might want to check with your mom or someone in your family who would know if your mom went, or grandma, mom or grandma, you know, the women, went through menopause a little bit earlier. Or I guess if not just earlier, it's more like just check and see what time in their life, what age it kicked in. It's just something I feel like it'd be good for you to know so that you're not super surprised if it is early, or I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying. So you're not surprised. It's almost like just get that age, because a lot of times that can be genetic, I've found. So just good to know kind of thing. Not that it's, you're not going to hit 40 and have menopause. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it came up for a reason. So just get the info. Keep making connections where you can too. Let's go to the lesson. This is the dream big. And what I like about this card here is that it's a dual card for this reading specifically. It's almost like dreaming big here didn't even play a role. Having dreams for these people, like dreams, like having like aspirations to do things in their life, right? It didn't even play a part, because this was their life. This is how you do it. You're part of the community. This is your role. They didn't feel trapped. There's no feeling of being trapped, just acceptance and respect, and it was lovely in that way. And the reason why I feel like this is coming up for this is because when there isn't that push from society to make something of yourself beyond yourself, life can be so much more simple and so much more enjoyed when there's no pressure to achieve this and be that and act this way. You know what I mean? This aspect of you here was. That sounds weird. Was, but literally, you were what you were. And it was perfect and fine, and you learned and you grew, and there's so much about this life. And then here, it's like there's so much going on, but they didn't have computers. They didn't have businesses to run. They didn't have, this and that and you know what I mean? It was simple, yes, but it was every moment of the day there was something to do and something to plan for or get ready for, as far as like seasonally, or the medicines, making the medicine. There's always something to do to contribute. And I feel like that's important for you to remember, that you don't have to feel, don't allow yourself to feel pressured by anyone or any ideas outside of you and your little family unit. Don't feel pressured to be something other than exactly what you are, and or to be somewhere than exactly where you are, or to be something than exactly what you are. Do you know what I mean? Like this is, I feel like it's a big message coming through that this is the time to really sit with yourself and accept all of those parts of yourself that you may have had or still have any kind of issues with. Because when you do, you'll realize those issues you have with the parts of yourself don't actually come from you. They come from you comparing yourself or projecting upon yourself from the outside, from other people, society, whatever it is. And I feel like this is a message to get back to yourself, that you don't have to have these big aspirations or mega achievements to be successful, content, happy, have a fulfilled life, And at the same time, the dualistic aspect of this card is also a little message that encourages you to go after what speaks to your heart and soul. And, if that's a passion. If you do eventually want to open a business, that's a dream, go for it. But it all starts with this big dream, this connection. It all starts with first being content and fulfilled just by being a human being, having all that love in you and all that love around you, and just focusing on you, who you are, your life, without all the external pressures or external judgments or whatever, competition or comparison. Get rid of that if you can. And I feel like there's a message in that when I say that, to be still, be silent. Yeah, meditate, but also it's more about, again, we're going to circle around to how this started off. It's ending with a picture of the image of you. Like I said before, you were standing with your feet in the earth, overlooking the ocean with the sand kind of thing, in the forest kind of thing. Now it has you sitting down, meditating in that exact spot. So it's about grounding yourself, really. It's about grounding yourself. When you ground, when you connect to the earth in that way, you ground and you focus, and you're focusing on the inside, you're going within. That means
All of the outside external shit does not matter at all. So focus on inward. And when you go in, what's inside? Your mind, your heart, your soul, and the void. That's it. There's no achievements, there's no awards, none of that bullshit. Just remember to focus on those things, the heart, the soul, the mind, the void. Find that stillness, and it's going to help you as you're raising this child. If you're able to reach the void, that will be able to center you and calm you immediately, especially if you have a good grounding technique. Which, by the way, just want to say, a great technique is imagining from the waist down, growing roots. Your legs become roots, growing into the ground. Imagine, visualize those roots sinking down into the ground and reaching the energetic Mother Earth and connecting with her, okay? It's going to be very helpful. Keep making connections where you can, though, okay? Anyway, there is your past life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you made some connections. And again, congratulations. I'm super excited for you. And thanks for letting me read you.